Okay, so today give continuation to chapter 16 that Jerome started last month. It's the significance of this chapter is really, I'm sure Jerome covered that. I heard his lecture last month. It's one chapter in which Kardec brings the most amount of passages of the gospel and parables of Christ placed together in the introduction in the top for this topic. You cannot serve both God and Mammon. And we see through the passage of Jesus and his gospel, his preoccupation with this topic. And it's demonstrated here by how many passages that Kardec took from the gospel and so many parables, that how often Christ went to this topic. The topic that deals with greed, that deals with manipulation of the richness that we may or may not have here, the ability to deal with the talents placed in our hands, equally with the ability to deal with lack of talents placed in our hands as well. Which it is a long chapter, because it is such an important topic that deals so significantly to our lives here as everything else. I'm not going to say that the other topics are less significant to the life on earth, because as Emmanuel tells us that we are here now because we belong here now. We are here now because we have to live our lives here and do all things pertaining to our lives here. If you live our life here concerned of when I die, we are wasting our time. We should live our lives as we are living incarnate spirits, thinking of how can we profit of the opportunities here as incarnate beings, how can we better ourselves as incarnate beings, and the consequences are inevitable. We will deal with that when you come to the spiritual world. Have an understanding of our life as an eternal life, as a continuation, sometimes with, sometimes without the physical body, helps us without any doubt. Is important without any doubt. But we are here now, and we should be concerned of things of here now. And it does show the preoccupation of Jesus as well, when he brings so many teachings regarding to our life here now. The management of our lives, our talents, our properties. What do you do? What we do not do? What should be our goals and interests in dealing with the property, the things pertaining to the physical life, because they are significant to us. Otherwise, makes no sense to incarnate. Makes no sense to be exposed to all these challenges that we face. The challenge of having, the challenge of not having, the challenge of what would be considered too much, the challenge of what would be considered too little. There's a lot of passages, and João went through all of them. We're not going to be able to go all of them again. I would love to do so, but if you keep doing that, we're never going to move over in the book. But I have the salvation of the rich, very important passage. Guard yourselves against avarice, extremely important. The example of Zacchaeus' house in that passage that Christ means, the parable of the evil rich man, extremely important. The parable of talents, the one that I keep coming to it over and over again for its significance. So it is a topic, the management of wealth, one cannot serve both God and Mammon. Understand that Mammon is a God related to materiality of things that they relate to property on earth, right? And if it's not perhaps the most relevant things that we have to deal here on earth, I don't know what that would be. Because the consequence of that management is extremely important, not only for our lives here, as I said, you generate very serious consequences of how we face ourselves in the spiritual world. You know, I think the challenge, the passage of the Zacchaeus house is a very clear example of that, right? The poor, humble man was able to tolerate all his poverty, found himself hanging out with Abraham, and the wealth-rich man who completely neglect the opportunity to be a servant ends up that time burning in a very bad situation after he leaves his physical body behind. And not to repeat everything that was done so far, we continue now with the inequality of rich. It's item 8.
I'm going to read Elmo because Philip and Soraya are not here. So.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay. The inequality of riches. The inequality of riches is one of those problems one tries in vain to resolve if one considers only the present life. The first question that presents itself is, why are all humans not equally wealthy? They are not equally wealthy for one very simple reason. They are not equally intelligent, active, and industrious enough to acquire wealth, or moderate and foresightful enough to preserve it. Furthermore, it is a mathematically demonstrated fact that if wealth were divided equally, it would give each person a minimal and insufficient portion. That if such a division were carried out, the equilibrium would soon be shattered due to the diversity in character and aptitudes. That if the division were possible and lasting, with each person having only enough to live on, it would be the end of all the great endeavors that contribute to the progress and well-being of humankind. That if it provided each person with what is necessary, there will no longer be the stimulus that compels humans to great discoveries and worthwhile enterprises. If God concentrates wealth in certain areas, it is because from there it expands in sufficient quantities according to the necessities. In accepting this fact, one might ask why God grants wealth to persons who are incapable of making it fruitful for the good of all. This is yet another proof of God's wisdom and goodness. By giving humans free will, God wanted them to reach the point where, through their own experience, they could distinguish between good and evil, and that the practice of the good be the result of their own efforts and will. Humans must not be fatalistic led either to good or evil, or they will be nothing more than passive and irresponsible animal-like instrument. Wealth is a means of testing them morally, but since it is simultaneously a powerful means of inducing progress, God does not wish for it to remain unproductive for long, and thus move it around incessantly. All persons will possess it at one time or another, in order to try their hand at it, and to test the use they make of it. However, since it is physically impossible for all to possess it all at the same time, and moreover, if all did possess it, no one would work and the improvement of the planet would be compromised. Each individual possesses it in turn. The one who does not possess it today has either had it already or will have it in a future life. And the one who possesses it now might not have it tomorrow. There are both the rich and the poor, because since God is just, each must work in turn. Poverty is for some a test of patience and resignation. Wealth is for others a test of charity and self-denial. The lamentable use that some persons make of their wealth and the ignoble passions that greed provokes are rightly deplorable, and one might ask if God is really just in giving it to such persons. It is certain that if humans had only one life to live, nothing will justify such a division of earthly wealth. However, if instead of limiting our vision to the present life, we would consider the whole sequence of lives, we would see that everything balances out justly. Hence, the poor no longer have reason to accuse providence or to envy the rich, and the rich no longer have any reason to gloat over what they possess. If they abuse it, it is not with decrees of sumptuary laws that wrongs will be righted. Laws can temporarily change one on the outside, but they cannot change one's heart. That is why these laws have a temporary duration and are always followed by a reaction even more unrestrained. The source of the evil resides in selfishness and pride. Abuses of every kind will cease by themselves when humankind rules itself according to the law of charity.
Thanks, Ron. So you did read that passage last time. Actually, it stopped at was from the continuing at the true ownership. But so that let's go over this quickly. When I read the first two paragraphs over here, one thing that comes to my mind is the fall of communism. That an idea as a political, as a financial institution for a large community, it sounds great, right? I mean, it's everybody works hard and everybody divides equally the fruit of their work. Everyone applies to the best of their ability their talents. The one who is good with numbers works on that. The one who is good with words work hard with that. The one that has tremendous dexterity works hard with that. The one who has great affinity with arts work hard with that, and everybody do their best, and everybody share equally, and everybody is jolly and happy. Didn't work. Why? Why didn't it work? It's something like a absolutely perfect plan, right? I mean, who would go against such a plan? And why did it not work? Why did it fail? Because we're not ready for that yet. Because we have not matured ourselves to be that each one of us, each individual, following this proposition, follow this plan. I'll do my best, and whatever is the profit of it, I will share equally in the community, and I will receive what the community has to profit. Unfortunately, the majority of us have not reached that level yet. Unfortunately, most of us are greedy, so we want to hold off most of what we have produced. You know, the parable of the farmer who produced too much and now has to build a greater barn to hold up the wealth instead of share the excesses. We are unfortunately that farmer yet. And perhaps even more important, João always keeps coming back to this topic also. If it is guaranteed to me that I will receive everything that I need to my comfort, it's very unlikely that I'll put my best effort. It's very unlikely that I will work hard. Unfortunately, that's a reality amongst most of us. Are there exceptions? Yes, of course. Are these exceptions getting greater and greater? I hope so, because there is a law of progress. To me, to deny that possibility is to deny the law of progress. So yes, I believe there is more and more of us today's understanding that what dignifies us, it's our labor and not the rewards of that labor. That the whole pleasure is the walking to that final destination, not the final destination itself. Many of us are moving to understanding that. Many of us are being able to act on that. Many of us understand, but are still able to apply it. So yes, we are moving forward, we are getting better, but still, that plan of that almost perfect Christian society of hard work for everyone and equally division of the wealth amongst everyone is still not reachable in a world of trials and expiations. And it's absolutely true that there is not enough to divide equally amongst everyone. And if there was, there are those who are very well talented in business, in abilities to acquire richness, that they would soon enough take from the ones who does not have such an ability, and the differences would soon be established. If today you got all the rich men and take all their money away and divide amongst all the poor men, would be a disaster for society. Most of us, the poor people, we don't know how to manage wealth. We don't know how to invest. We don't know how to do things. We need those who are able to do that, to be industrious, to develop wealth, to produce goods, to create jobs, and everybody profit from it or should profit from it. Is that a problem that some of those very industrious, very smart business people fell in their duties of better distribution? Perhaps, and it's up to them, and they have to deal with the consequences of what they are doing, and more important, of what they are not doing. There are things in our lives that, like or not, does not depend upon us. There are things in life that, if be completely fair, we see that there is powers that controls things as above us. So the farmer may be the most dedicated farmer, maybe hire the best engineers, agronomy engineering, to look at the land, to check the chemicals in the land, to make sure that the land is not, the soil is not too acidic, and make all the adjustments for well-balanced soils, and select the best possible seeds, plant at the right time, and do everything to the absolutely right, and even with full of good intentions even. But then the rain may not come, or maybe too much rain, or it may rain at the wrong time of the year, or pests may invade the plantation and destroy everything. Things are not under our control. And there gotta be a reason for those things to happen. But I'm trying to say that we are here to face challenges. We are here to learn how to manage the challenges. And richness is one of the things that may not be, and going to see ahead, under really our control. I may produce my richness through my labor, honestly, hardly so. Someone may do everything that I'm doing and I'm being to prosper from it, and that someone else is facing obstacles after obstacles after obstacles beyond its ability and does not prosper as well I am prospering. It's got to be a reason beyond my intelligence or my amount of prayer that I do that that makes one be able to prosper and the other one not being able to prosper. It's because richness is a trial, richness is a challenge, richness is a merit, riches may be a mission, and we have to be able to deal with things because again, as Emmanuel says in one of his past messages that I love very much, is the problem of the rich and of the poor in the parable of the Zacchaeus house is not of their circumstances, is but it's over the attitude. I don't know why that Zacchaeus, the poor man, was poor, laying in front of the house of the rich man, begging for the crumbs of the food from the rich man, having only the dogs to lick the wounds, the one way to help him to deal with those wounds. God, Jesus does say what leads him to that. Not even tells what lead to the rich man to be so prosperous, to be so vain, to be able to dress in purple, which was a sign of richness at that time. We don't know what lead to those circumstances, but we know there was those circumstances. Was it their fault or just their merit? Was not their fault? Was not their merit? We don't know. But they have to deal with those circumstances. And it is the attitude of dealing with those circumstances that led one to be in the house of Abraham, enjoying happiness with Abraham, and the other one to be burning in the hell of that time. That is an issue of attitude. And it is the attitude that lets us, it is our attitude, how we deal with richness, that will lead us to a better or worse outcome. So we may try, and we should try to be fair and try to provide the opportunities to everyone. Unfortunately, some people are not going to use those opportunities. Some people will use those opportunities and prosper from it. Some people will use those opportunities and will not profit from it, at least at at this incarnation. There's reason beyond us to understand it. You're not going to be able to understand it. But what really matters is the attitude that you have toward those circumstances. I think we should try, do our best to limit, to make everything more equitable as possible. But unfortunately, it's beyond us to be able to do so. But it's not beyond myself the obligation to do as much as I can, to divide as much as I can. So there will be inequalities, and those inequalities may be our doing or may not be our doing. In order for us to elevate ourselves, to purify ourselves, most of us we need to go through different challenges, facing different challenges. And again, I don't know why that poor man was laying in front of the rich man's house, not being able to prosper, not being able to be helped. I don't know what led him to that. Or he was a bad guy. He was a rich man in the past, and now he's paying for it. Does it say that in the parable? No, it doesn't. Do we know that for sure? No, we don't. Can we make that conclusion? No, we can't. Can we think that that may be one of the possibilities? Yes, absolutely. That may be one of the many possibilities. But we cannot say that poor man is being a poor man in this incarnation because he abused his property, his wealth in the past. That is one in the many, many possibilities. That's why Christ says, do not judge, not in position to so, because you just don't know enough to be in that position to judge. Could it be just that it's a guy just doing well, his eternal spirit doing well, doing everything pretty much as we should be doing our pathway of progress. And along the many courses that we all have to take in this university called life, one of the courses is deal with tremendous poverty and deal with being ignored by others. That's the course that you're going to take. It's a 50 minutes hour course for 6 months. That in a spiritual life, it means one incarnation, one bad day at school. And what it really matters is how do you deal with that circumstance? What is your attitude towards that circumstance? Same thing, the other way. Why is the rich so rich? Why was that man being able to dress in purple and enjoy all the best things that life has to offer and completely waste the opportunity of being helpful to others? The opportunity may be just the same. He was a poor man and now he is collecting his merit? Who knows that? Who can tell that? But we can tell for sure that it's a trial and it's a hard challenge to be able to be on the top of the pyramid and look down and see others down there and see them as yourself, my brothers and sisters, what they needed. Therefore, I'm going to lift them up. If I can't bring them to the top of the pyramid, at least I'm going to take them out of that mud of poverty where they are. It's a very hard trial. So there will be inequalities. And for another reason, if everyone is equal, the opportunity of the beneficence, the opportunity of at the material level, assistance is nullified. And in our ignorance that we live today, because we give so much value to materiality, material things, we need to be exposed to the opportunity of being able to provide those material needs to others as well. If no one has that need, that opportunity is nullified. Hopefully we'll evolve one day to live in a world where we no longer need to face the necessity of those trials. Comments, questions, doubts, disagree?
It's always a challenge, right? It's not difficult to understand, but it's very challenging to put in practice, right? To understand where is our limit between comfort and superfluous, and looking around, seeing people that we look at them and we question ourselves why, why they have these or why they don't have these, why the infortunes. But then we go back to your point always, right, Elmo? Not why, but what for, right?
That's right. So, and when you read at least this first 2 paragraphs in this passage, it's hard. It's almost cruel if we're very limited minded. But it is a reality that some people has a talent to produce wealth, some people don't. And unfortunately, some people even have the talent to produce wealth, but can't. There is always an obstacle on the way. There's things that is beyond us. We are here to face those challenges. And again, it's our attitude, as Emmanuel says, that really matters, not the circumstance itself, but our attitude towards those circumstances.
What we are going to do with the opportunity that presents itself, right?
It is one of the readings we're going to read ahead. I don't know if we're going to get that today, hopefully we will. In which the benefactor spirit says, give what is superfluous and also give what you think it's necessary, because in reality it's not necessary. That is a punch in the gut. That is a big punch in the gut. And how do I measure what you said? Well, what is the limit to what's superfluous and what's necessity? And the spirit to say, give even what you think is necessary, because in reality it's not. How can we have that vision? How can we sublimize ourselves to the level that we can see that? When you have the examples of Chico Xavier, of Gandhi, of Mother Teresa, we are so far from that yet.
Yeah, I think in the end we have to accept our own limitations, because if we are not in peace with our conscience, if we are not in harmony with ourselves, then instead of being a solution, we become a problem, right? And so that's the line that we have to divide between what is necessary to us and what is not, right? Because and again, each individual has its own needs and its own challenges, but I think the line is if I do that, I become instead of helping, I become a burden to society. Then we're not helping, right?
Right, absolutely. And again, yeah, it's totally individual. It's how my relationship with my own conscience, the divine was implanted. That's the most important thing before my relationship with others. Yeah, I think we have to accept our limitations, but at the same time put the effort to expand ourselves towards become a better being. The next chapter of that we're gonna face is be perfect. No, it's even bigger punch in the gut, right? How we seek continuously to be perfect as your Father is in heaven. Accept what we are now, but know that is not enough. We need to move forward. Okay, now then I can move on. No,
The Spirit's teachings through ownership. Humans truly possess only what they can take with them from this world. What they find upon arriving and what they leave behind upon departing, they can only enjoy during their stay. However, since they are forced to abandon it, they can only enjoy it and not truly possess it. What, then, do they truly possess? Nothing that is for the use of their body, but everything that is for the use of their soul: intelligence, knowledge, moral qualities. These are what they bring with them and what they take back, what no one can take from them, and what will be more useful for them in the other world than in this one. It is up to them to be wealthier upon departing than they were upon arriving, for their future situation will depend on whatever good they have acquired. Whenever people go to a far-off country, they place in their luggage objects that will be useful in that country. They do not carry anything that will be useless. Therefore, do likewise regarding your future life, and provide yourselves with everything that will be of use to you there. Travelers who stop at an inn are given a nice room only if they can pay for it. Those who have scanty resources are given a less agreeable one. As far as those who do not have any money at all, they sleep in a pile of straw. The same applies to humans when they arrive in the spirit world. Their place there depends on their means. However, they will not pay with gold. They will not be asked, how much did you have on earth? What position did you occupy there? Were you a prince or a laborer? But they will be asked, what have you brought back with you? The value of things or titles will not be acknowledged, only the sum of their virtues. Thus, in this respect, the laborer may be wealthier than the prince. In vain will the prince allege that, before his departure, he paid for his entry with gold. He will receive the response, places here cannot be purchased. They are earned by the good one has done. With earthly money, you are able to purchase fields, houses, palaces. Here, everything is paid for with the qualities of the heart. Are you rich in such qualities? Then you are welcome and may go to the highest place, where all kinds of happiness await you. Are you poor in these qualities? Then you must go to the lowest place, where you will be treated according to what you possess. Pascal, Geneva, 1860.
So the week I spent a vacation in Florida, I met someone who was telling me his experience in a luxury all-inclusive hotel or resort in one of those Caribbean places. And he told me how much he enjoyed the experience, the beauty of the room, of all the amenities in the rooms, like screen TV was the size of the whole wall, and all you can eat 24/7, all you can drink 24/7, all these water sports he was able to experience for the first time in his life that has never done before. He was extremely happy, extremely satisfied with that 1 week experience of a little paradise on earth. The week ended and he came back. He didn't bring not even one handful of sand of the beach that he enjoyed so much. He did not bring that huge screen TV with him. He did not bring all the bottles of liquors or whatever he enjoyed over there 24/7. But he brought with him all that experience that we retain, that he be with him for a long time, both the good and the bad. The extra pounds perhaps that he gained in that week over there with all you can eat 24/7, all included. perhaps a little irritation on the liver for always can drink 24/7, but also the enjoyment of that experience. And all the things that is cunning and being this point here for that reason, he discovered something unique for him. He hang out continuously throughout the week with a group of Argentinians. And he had no idea why, but in his life as a Brazilian, he have a complete dislike of Argentina and Argentinians. I presume, I don't know, is because of soccer. I don't know, I'm not gonna go there. But he had this prejudice toward Argentinians. And he had the most wonderful time with those group of people there. He was like, he said he would wake up, meet them in the morning, and just say goodbye at night, just to meet again in the morning. He absolutely adored that experience. And I thought, and I was reading this, a little something that 1 week he gained, he learned how to limit, or at least how to not to act in our, as was in our prejudices. We created those weird things in our minds. I don't like this kind of thing. But well, you don't like, not even experience staying with this kind of people yet, and you already don't like it. Unfortunately, we have those kind of attitudes. He went over there, he went to spend a week of there in that different place, could not bring not even one piece of materiality of that place that was the little paradise according to him. But this extra physical thing, he will have that for the life of the eternal spirit. He's going to have that for eternity. He had learned something precious over there, both moral and intellectual, that we will have that for life. That is true ownership. The week is gone. The ownership of possessing all those amenities, all the wealth that he could get in that week over there, the power of the dollar in that part of the world. Wonderful experience, but it's all left behind. It just lasts a week. But what he gained in terms of intellectual and moral with that simple thing that happened, he discovered that he likes Argentina as much as he likes anyone else in the world because he had a great time with them. That's precious. That you take for life. That is true ownership. He owned that. He doesn't own the resort. He doesn't own that wonderful, huge screen TV, but he owned that experience. He conquered that little thing. That's perhaps the most important thing for him that you carry for him through his entire life as an eternal spirit. And equally important, applicable for our life here now. Because again, we are here now because we belong here now. It's something that he can utilize for this rest of his life here as well. So the true ownership indeed is, without any doubt, the things that pertain to the eternal spirit, not the things that we use for the body. Not all the, or you can eat, or we can eat one, or you can eat or drink 24 hours. That's good, maybe bad. If you don't abuse, it's good. If you abuse, it's bad. But knowledge, moral qualities, intelligence, those are things that pertain to this eternal spirit, that pertains to the soul, and that we will keep always with us. And because we have to deal with the laws and consequences, once we leave behind this physical world, we will be asked, by whom? By ourselves, by our conscience. What have you done with the opportunity? Right? Because if here the currency is dollar, depending on how much of um, amount of dollar that we have, we may go to a five-star resort, or you have to limit ourselves to a shady motel along the road, or may not even that, may have to sleep in the car sitting. The amount of dollar will make the difference. In the spiritual world is different. It is what we give here of ourselves, of our generosity and exercise of charity, that is deposited in a bank there in the spiritual world. And that bank gives very high interest. So that's why Paul of Tarsus says no good repairs a multitude of errors. Because the divine law, it's not a one-to-one. God in his infinite love is one to many. One good that you do brings many goodness towards you. That's why I say that in that bank, the interest is high. All the good that we do over here is deposited in our account. And when we get over there, we can take that because it's ours. And because of God's generosity, with a lot of interest. But if you don't put anything in the bank, there is nothing to generate interest. There is nothing for us to collect. So if you seek to be wealth, to own things really in the spiritual world, that we can have here and have there. Again, I have to go back, but we start collecting the fruits here. We don't have to wait until we go back. In most cases, again, there are exceptions to the cases, to all cases, right? We can start collecting rewards here. You don't have to wait until the flesh is gone. The more we deposit, the more we have. But we have to deposit. You have to deposit enough to have, a quality of life, better quality of life. We have to have a good deposit enough to perhaps go to somewhere similar to Nosular, or slightly lower Nosular. But if we don't, then we gotta be at the mercy of those who may not have the best interest for us. Okay, comments?
That was a very good example of your friend's time there, right? I think every time we expand our minds, we are able to overcome our prejudices that we all have, right? That we are able to overcome our internal limitations. It's a lesson learned, and it can be learned in a nice environment. It doesn't need to be learned in a difficult situation, right? I think that's another very important lesson, right?
Absolutely, that's a very good point. And I think divine providence is continuously bombarding us with opportunities at all times. If we are paying attention, we be able to collect those little things to deposit in our bank, in our account at all times. At times of good, at times of bad situations, circumstances. And sometimes we are very aware of it. Sometimes we are not. That is an opportunity, but we're gonna make use of that in accordance with our ability, as I said, of put ourselves a little bit above ourselves, above our limitations. Take a little after to go farther. Like this guy could say, "Oh no, I heard Argentina's back there. Let him move away from this people. I can't stand them. Wasted opportunity." On the contrary, was able to take one step above oneself and embrace the opportunity. This conversation we have in here about this individual, I could not have with that individual. You'd say that I'm crazy, that I'm extremely materialist. You not even understand how blessed that opportunity was. But it still was, and it still made good use of it.
Yeah, and he's going to think differently moving forward. So it's
Yes.
progress.
Okay, and move on.
Move on. Okay. The goods of the earth belong to God, who distributes them as he will, and humans are only their stewards, administrators at various degrees of honesty and intelligence. They are so little the individual property of humans that God often foils all foresight, and wealth escapes those who believe they are most entitled to it. You might say that it is understandable in regards to inherited wealth, but the same does not apply to wealth acquired through one's labor. Undoubtedly, if it is legitimate wealth, then it must have been honestly obtained, for property is only legitimately acquired when, to possess it, one has not done harm to anyone. There will be an accounting for every cent wrongly acquired in detriment to someone else. However, just because certain individuals own their wealth to their own efforts, does that give them any power over it upon dying? Are not the precautions for they take to transmit it to their descendants often useless? For if God does not want it to fall into their hands, nothing will prevail against his will. Can people use and abuse their wealth while alive without having to give an accounting? No. In allowing them to acquire it, God might have wished to reward their efforts, courage, and perseverance over the course of their current life. However, if they use it only to satisfy their senses or their pride, or if it becomes a cause of failure in their hands, it will be better for them not to have possessed it at all. They lose on one hand what they have gained on the other, thereby annulling the merit of their labor. When they depart the earth, God will tell them that they have already received their reward. M. A Protector Spirit, Brussels, 1861.
So as I said, I mean, some of us, some individuals out there, seems to have a incredible talent to produce wealth. Hard workers, put the intelligence, the effort, their time, invest well, and gets the reward of it. If you believe in a justice at our level here, you say, well, it's just that the individual becomes rich, right? Did the work, put the time, was smart, invested, should be rich, should get it. There are indeed cases in individuals who do the same thing and does not see the results that we would consider just. Again, it's beyond us to understand reasons and, more important, objectives, purpose for this to happen. But in normal circumstances, all the laws, human and divine, would say that you work hard, you get the reward of it. You are honest, and nothing wrong with enjoying the prosperity of your effort when you apply that for your effort to develop their wealth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is important to understand that whatever is in here, again, whatever is for the body, it's not really ours. Whatever is material is not really ours. Because if it was, we'd bring with us. Just heard this today. Someone say when someone dies and see a procession of cars of individuals walking and driving behind the coffin or the car that's leading or bringing the coffin with the dead body inside to be buried. We never see a moving truck in that line of procession, bringing in that line going to the cemetery. You never see a moving truck. You never see a U-Haul, let's say, bringing all the properties of the deceased. Why? Because the deceased does no longer needs that, because it become absolutely um, unnecessary. It cannot bring with him or her. And that's a reality. When you go back in the spiritual world, you're not going to bring anything. And if you don't bring anything, it's really because it doesn't belong to us. Because then God says the God is not just. It's not that it's unfair. Because if it's mine, it's mine. But as you just read over here, what's truly mine, what's truly ours, is what's what we have gained through those circumstances, through those experiences. It is the intelligence, is it the moral qualities, is the knowledge. Those are ours. Everything else belongs to God, and we are nothing more than steward of the and administrators of those material things that God places in our hand for the necessary experiences for us to gain intelligence, to gain knowledge, to gain moral values. Those we gain, and those are ours, and no one can take from us, not even God, because then God would be unjust and God would cease to be God. Not even dealing with the material things that are not really ours. Our true merit to enjoy that is dependent on the fact that we do it without harming anyone, without denying anyone opportunities to do so equally. And it says property is only legitimately acquired when to possess it, one has not done harm to anyone. That's very important. And why is that? God is going to punish us? No. The divine law is already printed in our conscience. And our conscience is very nagging. It's going to be knocking. It's going to be constantly knocking in our head to say, yeah, you got to hold this wealth here now. You'll be able to enjoy this and that. But you know what you've done, right? You know those who are suffering because of it. You know those that we step on their heads to get here, right? And we'll have all that wealth, but you'll not be able to really enjoy it. And I question, not affirming here, if that perhaps is one of the reasons of so many induction into vices like alcoholism, like drugs, so much problems with insomnia, inability to sleep that leads people to, again, get into drugs. If it's our way to try to escape from those continuous knocking of our conscience, trying to remind us that, yeah, you have all this now, but you cannot have peace because now we are in conflict. The divine laws and you are conflictive. And there is merit in the hard work. There is merit in being wise in our investment. And when the reward of this hard work and this wisdom of invest, it needs to be matched with the wise to use it properly and distribute it properly. Because otherwise you create that imbalance. It becomes a demerit. You have the merit of the hard work and the wisdom to invest, but then you have the demerit of not being able to utilize it properly, keeping peace with our own conscience. Okay.
I was thinking here about something that it's discussed out there in terms of political correctness, right? Which is the inheritances acquired by those that their ancestors made the fortune through illegal means or abusing others. And many times there is this demand for retribution, for doing reparations, right? And I think it's a difficult discussion, but it is a discussion that we need to address, right? Because your grandparents made the money illegally. Should you give it back? What should you do with it? How should you deal with it? Your institution, and I read something about Harvard this week, right? That they made a lot of their wealth and reputation was done on top of slaves' blood. How do you address this, right? How do you address this? Because according to the human laws, it's right and wrong, and that they are trying to find laws. But according to us as eternal spirits, to the law of cause and effect, law of reincarnation, right? How can we address this in a just way? Just bringing a topic here for reflection, I don't have the answers here.
Extremely difficult. The first thing when I hear those kind of attacks, and I see them as real attack to the wealth, the first thing that I question is the moral integrity, the intention, the objective of those doing the attack. What are they doing out of what? Out of envy? Are they truly seeking a true, honest justice? That's the first thing that I question. And I'm very cynical towards those individuals, to tell the truth.
Yeah, me too.
But let's assume that they indeed are seeking a true justice. I think the design, this absolute perfect design, that's why I love so much Spiritism, that leads us to deal with that, is the law of reincarnation, which is a law. And if you look at the now that you are having these conversations, is pretty much about the time that those who created that wealth, those who perhaps committed those crimes against humanity at that time, are coming back perhaps to fix, to undo things, and to deal with the consequences of it. And I think that you have to measure if what can be done to bring some degree of justice without create even greater injustice, without creating even greater harm. Just as because you mentioned Harvard, what are you supposed to do with Harvard? Put it in the hands of incompetent people to destroy it? Put it in the hands of people who doesn't know how to manage such a huge institution, who are not able to manage such a huge institution just because somebody dropped the ball in the past, or utilize what the best that Harvard has and use as an example and expand the beauty of Harvard today to others. That would be more just, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the thing we always discuss, right? The benefits you bring to humanity overweight your own personal limitations, and your own personal limitations is you that have to deal, like we mentioned great examples, right? An Einstein, a Martin Luther King. We know that their familial life was not very rosy. Were accused of some issues there, right? Towards wives and families and things like that. But this is their personal issue that they have to deal with as the consequences. But their benefit to humanity is what we should look overall, right? And again, those, let's go and talking about Harvard, right? Those that were responsible in the past for the abuses have to face the consequences. But to destroy an institution because people misused it in the past, it's really it's not even. I don't think it's even worth discussing, right? Because it's really a shame.
I agree, and the issue of the wealth leaving behind for all the individuals to manage is a great example also. So if my grandfather developed an institution, a great fortune, step at the heads of people, and I came in and now I'm going to be the CEO of this big company. Am I supposed to pay for all the mistakes of my grandfather? Assume that I am not my grandfather, right? Or even assume that I am my grandfather. How can I deal with my responsibility of my errors of the past without cause even more harm? Because that big institution, regardless of how wrongly it was built, now it employs people. Now it provides service to the community. How can I deal with the consequences of my actions if I am my grandfather without creating even more problems for myself or that community that now benefits from that institution? Because again, absolutely right. The well-being of the community is more important than my own. And with this understanding of reincarnation, I could just as well be my grandfather, be the one who step on people's head and I was to come back to fix it. But I come back to fix it in a way that I do good to the majority and not cause harm to the majority for my own benefit. Then I'm just creating more debt for myself. We need to move forward. I see what is good here now, how to make it better. I think there's one way that I can pay for my mistakes of the past or the mistakes of my loved ones of the past is to get what's good now and make it better, make it more just, to make it more equitable as possible. If I keep stuck in the past, it's not going to help anyone, not even myself.
It's interesting because in the Old Testament there is a passage that says that your sins will be paid until the third or fourth generation, right? That I think it's by Moses, but that says that. And if you bring the concept of reincarnation, who is the third, fourth generation but ourselves coming back, right?
Right. And only through incarnation can deal with that. So there was in the Old Testament the idea that the son would pay for the sins of the father. It wasn't until Ezekiel came in and said, no, God doesn't know that the son is not responsible for the crimes of the father. That each one is responsible for their own crimes. And the divine laws of incarnation perhaps bring us back to fix those problems. But moving forward to make it better, not to make it worse.
Yeah.
Again, I'm very cynical of those who just seek to point fingers and just look at others I've done in the past and not see what's being done in the present. It's more important.
Well, it's our tendency, right, as human beings, of avoiding facing our own limitations and pointing fingers at others, blaming others for our own limitations, right?
Yep. This next one is no, it's not a. Oh, it's not a very long one yet. You can read one. I think you can read one more, right?
Yeah, I was wondering, Alma, because today is Mother's Day and we have so few people here, if we shouldn't just stop here.
Okay.
So we can continue next month with a larger crowd.
Okay, yeah. Is there anybody else want to make a comment? So if not, Carol, could you make the final prayer for us?
Certainly. Thank you, Elmo. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we are grateful to be together today as brothers and sisters. We are thankful that we are able to have the studies of the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 16, which involves the inequity of riches and also true ownership. We know that our spiritual benefactors are here. The good spirits are with us, guiding us and inspiring us to receive a better understanding of these passages and these teachings. The attitude of dealing with circumstances will lead us to a better and more challenging, or possibly a more challenging outcome. We can reframe our individual situation as an opportunity to progress, or we realize we are creating our future with each action each day. And so we ask ourselves, what assets of goodness are we depositing in our spiritual accounts? We have to take stock of this, and as we go forth each day, we can hone in and refine this to do the good things in life, to do the right thing, and to be on the path uplifting not only ourselves, but the planet in general. We give thanks today also, and we celebrate our mothers, our grandmothers, our stepmothers, and of course, Mother Earth. And we are grateful for the opportunities that we have received and blessed through our mothers, and we owe them a great deal of gratitude. Therefore, we send our prayers out to them as we can each day. And as we close this meeting today, we are grateful to the spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the helpers, the healers, the directors, the counselors, the mediums, the workers who are with us, helping us to maintain a continuity moving forward and progressing in Spiritism. We are never alone. We always have the resources if we ask for help. The spiritual guides will be there as we do our part, as well as the spiritual benefactors. We humbly ask for the love, light, and peace of Christ to be within us, to guide us, inspire us, not only within us, but in our outer world activities on this planet. We are grateful for all we have received today, the blessings, the teachings, and may we humbly ask for safety and protection as we go forth to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. We close now and give thanks, and we ask for the blessings of suffering spirits throughout the world, those who are going through calamities, through many transitions, through displacement, through health issues. We pray for their well-being, that they too may receive faith, hope, and courage to go forward. We close and remind ourselves to be beacons of light. Go forth now in gratitude and in peace. So be it.